Bonjour à tous et bienvenue dans ce nouvel épisode du Digital Download. Oops. Good afternoon, good morning, and good day, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download, the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live, now globally syndicated on TuneIn Radio through ABGR, the world's #1 business talk, news, and strategy radio network. Today on the Digital Download, we're discussing one of the biggest challenges in B2B sales. You've done the hard work, you've found the right company, you've found the right person, you maybe even had a great conversation, but then reality hits. There is no budget, and the plans for the year are already made. But before we kick off the discussion, let's go around the set and introduce everyone. While we're doing that, why don't you in the audience reach out to a friend, ping them, and have them join us? We strive to make the Digital Download an interactive experience, and audience participation, as you know, is more than welcome. Helen, would you like to kick us off, please?
Oh, thanks very much. Merci beaucoup, Bertrand. I'm Helen Mackenzie. Recent start at DLA Ignite this week. Was pleased to announce that I've joined the team. And buying windows open and shut. Not something that's very frustrating if you're in sales. So I'm very looking forward to talking about it today.
Thank you, Helen. And I guess we're all looking forward to the discussion. So, Adam.
J. Mappel, Adam.
Wow. Is that because I'm back?
Completely bilingual, as you can tell. Hi, everybody. I'm co-founder of DLA Ignite. And this is going to be a very interesting conversation, I think. And I'm looking forward to this.
Excellent. Tim.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. My name is Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And I'm also the author of the book, Social Selling and Influence, Using Social Media for Cold Outreach and New Business Sales.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Tim. And thank you all. So let's start with a foundational questions. Because
Hold on a sec. You haven't introduced yourself, Bertrand.
That's right. My name is Bertrand Godillot. I'm the founder and managing partner of Odysseus & Co., a very proud DLA Ignite partner. And I'm running the show. I'm the timekeeper, actually. So let's get back to it. And bear with me because I've missed a few.
But Bertrand, just if I mention names like Glyn Johns, I'm trying to think of some more. The producers are like the fifth Beatle, and you're the producer of this show.
Yeah, indeed. I'm not sure I can be compared though. But
we can compare you. We can compare you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, that falls perfectly in line with my French background, so that's perfect. Okay, let's get started. So, why traditional follow-up and automated nurture emails often do more harm than good? Who wants to take this one?
Well, I've got a really strong opinion about this.
How surprising.
I'll set them up. You just keep hitting them. I mean, we all get annoyed by being processed, whether that's processed through nurture, processed in marketing, processed in whatever element of this. When we feel that we are at this particular point in the journey of the relationship or the purchase or whatever it may be, and then therefore we get email number 4, it makes you feel like you're not being listened to. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, isn't it? Is that when I'm trying to sell something to you, I have to make a load of assumptions about you. I have to try to be effective and efficient in how I prospect and how I nurture you as a prospect. And And when I'm the buyer, what I want is to feel that I have one-to-one interactions with the person that I'm using as my guide and my shepherd through the process of purchasing something. So the idea of sending a nurturing email is repulsive to me anyway.
So I'm going to repeat. I'm going to be Tracy, but maybe I'm going to be Tracy today. I'm going to quote Tracy today, Tracy Borreson, because she said on something on this show before, which is that it's only nurture if there's a relationship. So the word nurture is often used where what happens is that you've rung up somebody and they say, no, I'm not interested, send me a brochure, but I might be interested in 3 weeks or 3 months or whatever. And so what happens is that email is transferred to marketing and put it in a nurture list. There's no relationship at that point. You're just, they're just names on the list. So Tracy would always say the word nurture has to be associated with a relationship. And so if there's a relationship, it may be what I'm doing is I'm saying, Adam, last time we spoke, you said this was really important. Have you seen this new Harvard Business Review article? And you'd go, oh no, I haven't. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And so that's a completely different output than where you're just on the list. And I just create, when people send me spam emails, I just create rules and it just goes forever.
But it's interesting that you use that as an example, Tim, and it demonstrates how you sell. How many times have you ever been on the recipient, have been on the receiving end of that email or message?
Never.
Exactly. So you're talking about this as if this is common practice. And whilst
it's common practice to me.
Exactly. And therein lies the problem. Your expectation is that people will treat you with the respect that you deserve. And most people's expectation is that I'm only going to treat you with any respect when you've got your wallet out and you're ready to buy. So in all of my years of being in business, whether or not I've been selling or buying or running a business where I have been in control of the business, I've never, ever, ever received an email or a message like that, ever.
Let's be a bit provocative on that. If you're not ready to buy, why on earth would I, invest some time to build a relationship, since you're not ready to buy?
Helen.
Yeah, well, I think
just
it was. I think it's. I mean, that's why would I? Why am I sending you an email? And I think there's something about people being worried you're going to forget about somebody. I've got "Don't you forget about me" in my head.
Simple minds.
Yes, simple minds. But I think that. So I think one of the misconceptions is that if I keep spamming you with an email, once every couple of weeks, and the annoying Helen Mackenzie comes into your box with this nurturing email, that actually I'm not going to forget about you. Now, obviously, if Tim set the rule, I'm not getting there in the first place. But I think there's this panic that you're going to forget about the brand. But actually, one of the ways that people remember your brand, what you sell, what you do, is through the fact that you've got some connection with it. And I did a post a couple of weeks ago about MSC Cruises, because I remember the brand. I see the brand when they advertise, but I remember the brand because I've got human connection with the chief procurement officer there, or I did when he was there. So I think there's something about a panic that people will forget about you if you don't keep reminding them you exist. Now, how you remind somebody you exist and how you reinforce that connection, if you've even got it, I think is a big question. I think the other thing I wanted to say about nurturing emails is that my perception of where we are in terms of businesses and how they're funded and what's driving things, growth, investment, is this whole thing around AI being able to increase the quantity of what we do and reduce the cost. And actually a nurture email feels like a quantity over quality way of reminding people that you exist. And I think that's people are being pushed down that alleyway because there's this whole idea that we can do more and more and more and more and more, and actually more and more and more means more people will buy. But back to what we talked about at the beginning, it doesn't matter how many people I'm sending an email to. If the buying window is not open, it doesn't really matter, does it? I don't know. It's a number
Just
of strands
bouncing
in
this
it
back
all.
to the top of your inbox.
Don't, please, don't.
We should do a bingo card for.
We shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Just circling round, Tim.
Yeah.
Oh,
But how do you avoid becoming that salesperson? You know, who only connects and reaches out when they want something.
But I think your point earlier, and I know that it was a rhetorical question about why should I invest time in you when you're not ready to buy? That's exactly it. You should invest time in someone when they're not ready to buy, because when they're not ready to buy, they know that you can't sell them anything, and they're much more likely to be receptive to having a conversation. And we all know that when you look at your email or your news feed on LinkedIn or anything where there's a lot of people trying to share stuff into your line of sight, the people that you know and the people that you notice and the people that you remember from that are people that you've actually had some sort of connection with. So, I recognize you because we've had a chat, a Zoom call or coffee or whatever it may be. So I feel that I know you a little bit. And now you're not somebody that's trying to muscle your way in. You're somebody that I already know. And I think that's a massive delineation between the two. And the salespeople that don't do that, the salespeople that literally just keep sending emails that don't get responses, they're the ones that get ignored.
But isn't this a long game, Adam? Because we know that, for our audience who's often under pressure, and the idea that you should focus on the deals that will close. Do you still have time for that? For something which is seen as a long game, I would say.
Well, I think one of the experiences I've had in terms of sales is that a significant proportion comes from what I would call inbound, but that's not inbound in the sense of it's just somebody cold that's come in. It's somebody who that reaches out to you because their buying window is open. And I think that is, where actually that whole idea of keeping in front of people comes in. I think that's how, in a sense, it feels counterintuitive. Inbound isn't because they found you in a Google search. Inbound is because they're like, okay, I think I need this, and I know Helen does that, so I'm going to reach out to her to have a chat. Reach out. There you go. There's a bingo. There's a term. I'm going to get in touch with her because I know she does this, or her company does this, and we've had a call, and I know her. I know it was a wee while ago, but that would be an inbound, but it wouldn't be an inbound in the sense that you haven't got a clue who they are. They know you, and they're reaching out to you. So I think that's something that's quite interesting. I had a call the other day with somebody, and he was telling me that they'd got a sort of BDR function, which is like email, and they were only getting a 3% return on phone. People even saying they might have a call. Now, I don't know whether that's good or not, but that feels quite soul destroying for somebody who's phoning. And every 100 phone calls, perhaps 3 might acknowledge your existence. But I think that's for me something around that. And back to being present in whatever platform that you're on. One of the things the brain does is it switches off from things that it's not wanting to see or feel familiar or feel whatever. So, I saw a post that you did, Adam, this week where you were quite close to the screen. It was quite an odd photograph that you took, but actually it leapt out as it went through in the feed. It leapt out a lot more than, you know, a stage sort of corporate post or an AI generated one with people going like this. So I think, again, your brain switches off from people that you don't perhaps know, or that look boring and staged, and actually looking at that and going, what on earth's Adam up to there? And then having a look. I think, you know, that's how, I wonder if that's how the brain works as well. So that I've met Adam, I know him, and blow me, what's he up to with that thing he's done there? So
just to add to that, Helen, I think it's really important, because we actually came to this to this subject based on something that you said in one of our meetings, and I thought what you said, and I think it's really worth repeating that for context, which is that you said in your previous role that you'd send out 100 emails and you'd get 2 responses, and those 2 responses would be, thanks very much, but we're not in a position to buy at the moment because of our financial year.
Yep.
So the point is, they are in a position to buy at a particular point, but not at that point in time. So quite often the question is, how can we be in that? Can we be in that position? So kind of joining the two, you know, what you were saying and I was saying is that you know, we know that we should be focusing on what we can close today, but there will be this bunch of people that will be available to buy, but not right now. You know, if we take Salesforce, which is a client of ours, they have a February to January year, and they never buy anything in their Q4. So you'll never get hold of them in November, January, and February. So November, December, and January. So, but we know that because we're used to dealing with them, because we've dealt with them for the last 3 years. So my point is that there must be something that we can be doing in sales so that the people that are ready to buy, because it's that time and there's a window, they actually pop up and say, hey, Helen, it's actually time to buy now. Can I buy something? I know it's a bit simplistic, but there must be something that we can be doing to
yeah, and you can't guarantee they're not going to forget about you as well. And I think that's the other thing that people might say and have said to me in the past, you know, it's this isn't the right time, our budgets are set, blah blah blah, but you can't guarantee that when it is the budget time they'll remember you and come back to you. So I think that's the other thing, and that's where the nurture thing comes in. I think there's this idea that the nurture email is the way, back to my riff on the thing about don't you forget about me, because the worry is, or you send that email, you put it in the CRM that's when their budget is set, and you email them and they don't remember you, or it flies past and they don't, you know, like I think there's something about making sure that you're in their mind, which is interesting around that, as well as like just, you know, this is, oh, what a shame, you've just missed the budgets, we've set them all, call me next year.
So what way could we be in a position where we're constantly front of mind with people? How can we do that? I guess we can put them in the nurture list and we can send them an email every 3 or 4 months. But Adam doesn't like that. I don't like it. Okay, we're only a sample of 4, and 50% of people don't like it in a sample of 4, but it's just a small sample. So what could we do to actually make sure that we were always front of mind in those people?
Well, I mean, certainly in my experience, it's something about appreciate, you know, keep being connected with them on LinkedIn primarily, and, you know, just appreciating what they're doing on there, you know. But particularly I would used to sell to marketing, and marketing people in marketing put all sorts of things out, whether it's effective or not, it's not the matter, but just being appreciative of that and commenting on a post, and, you know, just being human. You know, here's somebody saying something, being human and connecting with them. I think that's something that I found. I think also, you know, if from time to time just having a blether with them, just getting in touch with them, I think that's the saying, yeah, you haven't
Is Blether Scottish?
For a chat. Sorry.
Okay, right.
Sorry, Bertrand.
You nailed it when you said about marketing, because marketing is something that the word has become synonymous with something that the marketing department do, rather than something that you do. So, I connect to people. I try to have conversations with people. I publish content pretty much every day. I engage with their posts. I send them things that I've seen that I think might be of value to them. And all of that is marketing. It's marketing me and my thinking, and by association, the company's thinking. And I think that it's crucial that we do that. But I think that the most important thing about that kind of nurturing is that it's done in a very light of touch way. Because if the nurturing is bring, hi, Helen, are you ready to buy this week? Okay, I'll call you next week then. That's not light of touch. And you, if that's your attitude, you become the person to be avoided. Whereas if it's, I saw this and thought of you, or this is really fair, or last time we spoke, we were talking about this, here's something that you might find interesting that Dave over there shared, or do you fancy meeting up for a coffee again? And as long as it's done gently, most people, in my experience, say yes.
There's a interesting comment from
yes, I was about to show.
Yeah. So LinkedIn user, I'd argue provide meaningful content that isn't merely focused on you selling, but being helpful on related subjects, like the comment about the Harvard Business Review article. Thank you, LinkedIn user.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you become the person that's got all of the knowledge and happily shares that knowledge with people, people will want to listen to you when you speak, because they constantly get it reaffirmed to them that listening to you is a good idea. And then over time, they build this kind of, oh, Tim's post, I'll read that because I always learn something. Okay, well, what more could you hope for? And if Tim posts every day, then every day you're reminded that he's a really good guy to be connected to.
Just a quick question on this, because I'm sure that will be useful. Certainly sharing with my network our customer success stories and our latest releases and all this great stuff must be quite interesting for our target audience. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure you'd like to know that Tim has just won Salesman of the Month with us. No, nobody cares about any of that stuff today. The thing they care about is, I've invested 5 minutes reading your post. Am I better equipped to go out and do what I need to do in my work and my life than I was before I read that? If the answer is no, then I'm not unlikely to read another one. If the answer is yes, then I am likely to read another one. And I think that the challenge for everybody is that you believe your product is best, you believe that your company is best, and you are really excited about it. And you want other people to be excited about it, whether that's like a political or a religious epiphany that you've had, where you think all of a sudden, oh, I get so much joy from this, I need to educate you as well. That's how people feel about the companies they work for in many instances. And actually, I don't care about your company. I'm too busy caring about my company. And that's the reality for 99% of people out there, isn't it?
Yeah, and I do think
that is disappointing. That is disappointing.
It is disappointing, yeah.
I had quite an interesting exchange of comments yesterday on a post that I'd put out, which was about how it was an AI related post, and I think that, for anybody having a look at that perhaps reading the post I'd done, but also reading the comments, I think that debate was quite helpful. Now, whether or not you win the argument, I think, or the debate, because it wasn't an argument, but that's win the discussion. But actually being able to put something out there and for people to stress test what you're saying, or to put their point of view over and see if that actually is the valid one, particularly if you're connecting with people in the same field, I think is really interesting. You know, we in the procurement space, which is one I've been involved in, you know, there's quite a lot of discussion about procurement technology and whether it will work or not, or, you know, but a lot of that can be driven by people who have produced the technology solutions in the first place, who it's in their interest to say it would work. And actually people trying to have a discussion about it that isn't sort of posturing and just trying to explore that. I think, you know, that's where posts and commenting and that side of thing could be really helpful for people, even if they don't comment themselves. If you put something out that's relevant to them and then there's a really interesting discussion on the post, then, you know, that's I think helps them. And that could be because they're connected to me and I comment on, I don't know, Bertrand's post, and so they come to that from me, but it's his post that they really, I wonder what that was about, and they go back to the beginning and they read that. I think that's where, you know, you can be helpful without even meaning to be helpful, because you're just having conversations. It's a bit like being at I don't know, a conference, a networking event. I was going to say a party, but, you know, like where you sort of end up coming into a discussion halfway through, but it's really interesting and it helps you develop your thinking, or you can then get involved in the conversation. That's where I think LinkedIn feels sometimes a bit manufactured, but actually is a really great place for people to talk about ideas and things like that. So, you know,
and to, you know, I come on from that, Helen, is that you know, quite often we have conversations going on when we run these podcasts, and what you have is that situation where you actually have people talking to each other in the chat. And you know what's going to happen is that those people will connect, those people will have conversations. So it's not like, so what you've described is, it's not just like it's a flat thing. Other people can actually go and say, oh, that comment that Helen's made, so who is Helen Mackenzie? I'll just look her up on, oh, she does, oh, that's interesting. So it's as I say, it's not just like a 1D thing. It's where you're actually playing a game where you're showing that you're an interesting person. You're showing that you're not just a walking brochure, and people will always be attracted to people that are interesting, because it may be that you're the person they go, that's interesting, I'm going to start following Helen and see what, if she's saying those sort of things, I could actually learn from that. And that's one of those things where you're building. You're building. I'm going to say the word community. You're building this community where people are seeing you as a light, a North Star or a South Star if you're listening in Australia, and you're. Thank you. Is that a Zen moment, or has someone won the bingo?
Sadly not.
So one more customer.
Yeah. So we don't bang the gong. We have these little things.
There's one more lead. Just got back from that's an email response.
Yes. So we've had because I'm going to pretend and slide straight through. So we've had a comment.
Yes, we did.
Nurturing the relationship is key. Always a great reminder. Thank you.
Yeah. And as we're saying, it doesn't have to be labor intensive. You know, nurturing a relationship is as much around just being somebody that's helpful in somebody's world. And, you know, like a lot of people consume audio podcasts because that's a relationship with someone. They might not personally know them, because what they're listening to is helpful in their world. So I think that there is something around that feels really interesting. And, you know, then you're relevant to people. You know, you're actually not talking stuff that people aren't interested in. I mean, I'm hoping more people that are interested in walking, trying to record things in the wind and sheep will come to me more. But I think that's really, I think that's one of the challenges. You know, you send those nurture emails with the links to things because you've heard something and you think, well, that's about the topic that these people do. I'm just going to mass send that out as email number 4. Whereas if I listen to that and then I post about it on LinkedIn, you know, in a sense, it doesn't have to be, you can walk on by if you want, but it feels a little bit more authentic, which again, back to the discussion about AI on the post the other day was about authenticity. Authenticity is, for me, about it, like that. I listen to this. I know there's people I'm connected to that might be interested in this, or people in my network. This is how I'm going to actually share it with you. I'm going to put something on LinkedIn and I'm going to say something about it. And, you know, you'll come across it and that could be helpful to you. It's as much being like that as pushing it in your face. Here it is. You must read it because I've sent it to you, and you feel guilty if you don't click on the link because you know me and, you know, I better read that because.
So Helen, do you have? Are you playing song bingo? Because we've had "Don't You Forget About Me" and we've had "Walk On By." I don't know. Okay, I'd heard it on the grapevine. That was all.
Oh dear.
Just a quick question on this, because I don't know about you, but most of the very successful sales person I've met in my small career path, they always seem to be, you know, at the right place at the right time, and so that the conclusion could be that they've been lucky. But I don't believe in this. So the question is, you know, is there a way to create luck? So to develop that luckiness, is this what we're talking about, basically?
So Adam, what's your summary title on LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's the famous Gary Player quote: "The harder I practice, the luckier I get."
Right.
Yeah, and we're all firm believers in the fact that you create your own luck. You know, so is your success a function of how hard you pedal the bicycle? You know, how many people you send messages to, how much stuff you post, how many people you interact with, how nice you are when you speak to people. Yeah, of course it is. And the more of that you do, the more successful you tend to be. Certainly in a relationship-based job like sales, you know, if everybody dislikes you because you're arrogant and obnoxious, then you're going to find it a great deal harder to sell stuff than if everybody likes you because you're charming and helpful. And if you get the formula right, and you are very friendly and very amenable and very entertaining and very joyous to spend time with, and then you just take that and show it to as many people as you possibly can, you're much more likely to be lucky. And of course, that there is a degree of luck in all of this, because if every single person that you engage with and have a conversation with doesn't want to buy from you, that's bad luck.
Yeah, but you know that it really links to. I mean, I love this quote. It's not on my fridge at the moment, so my house was very big. But Earl Nightingale, who says luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's something around making your own luck is about preparedness. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's about I have something that's of benefit to you, I'm prepared. But opportunity is back to that buying window. So I think the preparedness is all about connection, is about relationship, is about all of that. And then the opportunity is when the window opens and people say, either come on in, I'm going to buy, or I've got this RFP and I'm going to invite you as one of my suppliers to bid for this. So I like that, because I think it sort of takes that sort of, if I come across a 4-leaf clover, I'm going to be lucky. I think we can make our own luck, but it's those two sides of the equation that are really important.
It is, but I do think that this is about deciding whether the direction you're heading is a good thing or a bad thing. So if you desire to be the most known, the most respected, the most knowledgeable, the most helpful person for what it is that you do, is that a good thing or a bad thing to be known for? Well, clearly it's a good thing.
Good thing, yeah.
And if you are an aggressive, hard-hitting salesperson who is always closing, you cut your teeth watching The Boiler Room and Glengarry Glen Ross, and this whole kind of always be closing attitude, and then people will only ever speak to you once and never speak to you again. Is that what you want to be known for? No, because that will inhibit your ability to do stuff. So I think that a lot of this is about just saying, okay, you got to point the ship in a particular direction. So let's say I want to be known as being the person that does this. And that's why, when you look out onto LinkedIn, where you can see what everybody is offering themselves up as, there are some people, whether you like them or not, whether they stand out as somebody that you would like to do business with or not, whether or not you have any experience of them or not, these people are known for something. And that must be a good thing. So when Bertrand says to Tim, do you know anybody that? Tim goes, well, actually, I do. I've not worked with the guy, but this guy seems to be the go-to person for this. And all of the controlling that is all completely within your powers, isn't it?
So Robert,
we have a comment.
Surely this all depends on the size of the ticket. Even a big ticket sale like buying and selling a house, if there's not a motivated buyer and motivated seller, then the product may not be seen. Why clean the house for the tire kicker attitude?
Well, I think
you don't know whether they're a tire kicker until you've already been down that road, do you? I remember my first ever job was selling hi-fi, and a guy came into the store, and this is a long time ago. This is 35 years ago, possibly a bit longer than that. The guy came into the store, and I turned to one of the other people and, okay, another waste of time. And it turned out that he had already spent many, many, many thousands of pounds in the store. And
Adam famously upsold a record player, because he was selling record players in those days, to a guy who was deaf.
Pardon?
Exactly.
Yeah. But the point is that you cannot judge a book by its cover. So lots of people who are tire kickers are only tire kickers today. They may be buyers and motivated buyers tomorrow.
So this guy came into the hi-fi shop that Adam was in with a hearing aid, and he was listening to stuff. It was one of these you used to have the hearing aid here, and it was like
he had the implants behind his ear in his skull.
Yeah, and everyone said, "What a waste of time! He's got a hearing aid," and he ended up. What was it? He spent £1,500 on a record player, and that was 35.
In those days,
35 years ago.
The funniest thing from that interaction was, I said, "Do you want me to turn it up a bit?" And he said, "No, I can do that here. Don't worry." Turned it up with the little thing hanging around his neck. But the fact is, you can't judge, can you?
I think also, like, not everyone will buy. I think this idea that 100% of prospects will buy, if we want to talk about that, I just think that's some people that's about qualifying the opportunity when you get to that stage in my experience is getting that stage of the process. And something like a house, like a long sales process. I was speaking to somebody who sells ERP software, which is a big ticket item. I know, but he was all right. He's a nice chappy, and he shared his experience with me. So that's but he was talking about how long the sales process is for that, how much it he was talking to me about relationship building and how you're not, when the time is right, that the organization is even thinking that it might change the thing that counts the money, and does the financial things that you need to do, for legal and company things, that actually that could be 3-4 years hence, because you get to the point where what they've got just isn't any good anymore. So he's the nurturing that goes on, the relationship building, the keeping in front of people that goes on to even being invited to respond to an RFP for something like that, let alone actually seal the deal is long. So I think there is something about, you know, we're not going to be a good fit for everybody. Even if we've done our work around our ICP, we're still not necessarily going to be a good fit for everybody, and we're not necessarily going to be the ones that, you know, they buy from. But that we do need to be around and top of mind when people are thinking about buying, or you definitely won't be the one that anybody buys from, because they don't even remember us in the first place, or they don't even know about us in the first place.
But I think we also have to be cognizant of throwing the net wider, you know, 6 degrees of separation and all that. You don't know who has the ear of the person that you want to speak to. So you can kind of map it within a company perhaps, but you certainly can't map it around, you know, Tim invites half a dozen people around for dinner tonight, and, you know, they've got some interesting people around the table, and I'm desperate to speak to one of them. And how does Tim know to introduce me to that? Well, he doesn't unless I tell him this is what I'm looking for, or unless Tim is very clear about what it is that I do. So when the person says, "Oh, we need to do blah," Tim says, "Oh, I know someone really well that does that thing. Maybe you should have a chat to them." And I think that so often we're looking, particularly in sales, we're looking for the low-hanging fruit, aren't we? You know, why do you cold call someone? Well, because once upon a time I got through to the CEO, they bought, and now they've been the best customer we've ever had for 15 years. Great. But that was a freak occurrence. That's not how things normally work. So I think that understanding what you want to be known for and then being known for it is the key here, isn't it? And I think that so often we forget that there are many routes. Our chairman gave us a book a while ago.
Can you say that again? Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, gave us a book called Obliquity, which is how sometimes the results you want are best achieved obliquely, i.e. not by the direct route. And part of this is about taking advice from someone you trust who isn't necessarily an expert at that thing. You know, I know this person personally, they're absolutely fantastic. They always make things work, you know, and they're absolutely somebody that you can rely on. Well, that's a very powerful thing to hear from one of your closest friends, even if that friend knows nothing about ERP systems.
Yeah.
This goes back to back channeling, basically, what we discussed and was discussed by Kara Cunningham from Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
And I guess the same, you know, back to your, I think you had you made a point earlier, Helen, about the fact that that might be quite difficult to actually track when people are ready to buy, when they were not ready to buy in the first place.
You could always ask them, couldn't you?
There again, is there a you know a best practice, a way that you could leverage this piece of information from your network, actually?
So one is to actually understand. Is to ask them. Another one is to understand ask them what their financial year is, and then ask them when they buy. So, but the other, so I'm assuming, Helen, that when you sent out your 100 emails and you got 2 back that said we can't buy it, you went back and asked them, and then you made a note of when they were ready to buy.
Yeah, and I mean that's what CRM's for. But yeah. I was doing that actually today for somebody I spoke to last week who is growing the business, was interested in what I was talking about, in what we do here at DLA Ignite, but wasn't at the stage then. Now that doesn't mean I'm just going to never speak to him until that point. You know, I'm connected with him. He's somebody who's really interesting in what they're doing. You know, we had a bit of a conversation about that. May well reconnect with him about that in the meantime. But I think that's what your CRM's for. But that I think where people can feel a little bit used then, or back to my point of just not replying to your email, is that there's no, the only time she's ever talking to me is when she wants to sell me something. there she is again. That must be because they've got inventory to sell, or they've got, it's that time of year again. And what's she done for me in the meantime? I know that people understand the roles that everybody plays within a business, and if you've got sales in your title, that's what you're doing. But I do think that there is something about that, back to just back to what we talked about just being helpful and being somebody that you see in the passing from time to time because you've posted something interesting on social, or you've shared something that you came across that you thought they might like. I think that just makes it just feel less transactional. I mean, it is transaction in the sense that I've got something I think you need, and I want you to buy it from me because I think it's going to help you. But I just think there's something in the middle that whilst we can use the CRM for the buying window.
I think also Robert Turl makes a good point, which is, I would say, if there is a motivated buyer in your space and they don't come to you, it's a big issue.
Yes. And that's back to my thing about inbound, that actually then that feels like inbound when it's not inbound. It's somebody that wants to buy. They've remembered you. They've come to you. It's budget time. You're on my list of people to talk to. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me, has anything changed since last time we talked? That's your ideal conversation. You're like, yes, here you are, and let's talk about that. But yeah, I think you're right, Robert. And I think, back to this, I think it was in the Sixth Sense report about 4 out of 5 people that are invited, or suppliers that are invited to bid for something, are people that are known already. Yep. You want your people that are going out with their RFP, the procurement are helping and going out with their RFPs or whatever it is you sell, to remember you and put you on the list, and to be invited to bid or to be part of the process.
Absolutely.
So does anybody else have anything to say about that? What if they don't
I think being invited is important, of course, but then there's also something that I believe we tend not to talk too much about, which is how do you secure the deal in your direction? And I think equally, back to your comment, 4 of the shortlist is known before the RFP is back, but then there is still some room to change the order, and I think there as well there is an opportunity for. That's another area where you should be investing in networking, or at least making sure that you're known for your expertise and recognized for that, so that ultimately there is an influence also on that part of the purchasing process. Because we talk a lot about the sales process, but we don't talk much about the purchasing process. And while that's the core of the topic, I think.
Yeah.
Any comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that when I was on the procurement side that I was really interested in was, I was probably a salesperson's dream, because I would usually take a call, schedule a time and talk to people, because it's really important to hear what's in the marketplace, what's new, and what differentiates suppliers. And I think that when you go to the market, thinking about, as you say, what are the characteristics of a supplier that's a good fit for us, and making sure when we're going to the market, thinking how we're going to choose, we've got that in, is important. Now, the only way people, we did that was because we engaged, we'd engage with the market and hear what everybody was doing and think about the criteria. That's not skewing the process, but that is about being very aware of differentiation between vendors, between suppliers. Now, if you're selling me a pen, it's not, there could be some differentiators there, but that's a difficult one. If you're selling me consulting services or software or I don't know, health and safety equipment or something like that, there's all sorts of things that people sell where there is differentiation there. And that again is back to what you're talking, what makes the difference, what you're talking about. I think those differentiation points can be really helpful, as you say, Bertrand, in making sure you win. So that's that bit.
Well, they can, but only if I believe in what it is that you're saying. that's the bigger challenge, isn't it? You know, the reality is that before I've bought from you, I've only got your word for the fact that your product's good, your service is good, and you're doing it on time. So you're selling me the dream of something. And I think that vendors, for whatever product or service they're selling, they fall into the trap of thinking, because it's true, that would be good enough. You know, so we are the market leader. So I'll tell everybody we're the market leader, and people will believe me because we're the market leader. And you have no reason to believe me, because I wouldn't be the first salesperson that had lied. And I think that the first question that people that are prospecting need to ask themselves is, would I like to be the recipient of what I'm about to do? So if this was someone else selling something in which I have little or no interest, so I don't know, garbage bags, would I be interested in having the conversation? And it's like when you get an email from somebody that says, that's a cold email from somebody you don't know that says, I've helped loads of organizations like you in the past. I'd love to have a conversation with you, just a brief conversation to understand what your challenges are at the moment. And your response to that is, it's none of your business what my challenges are at the moment. I have no reason to give you any insight into my business because I don't know who you are, and I don't really want to have a conversation with you. I've got better things to do with my time. And when people go, yeah, but it's going to be a real value add. Well, no, it isn't for me. It's going to be a value add for you because I'm going to give you insights into how you can
the word value is relative anyway, isn't it? What is value to you may not be value to me.
Yeah. And I think that so often we get swept up in our own PR around this stuff. And you know, Bertrand said about the buying process, and you know, well, Tim and Bertrand and myself used to work for a big tech company, and we used to do things called customer journey mapping. And it was never about the customer's buying journey. It was all about our selling journey that we were mapping. So here's what you need to do at this point, and here's what you need to do at this point. So it provided little or no value to the customer.
And sometimes pretty over-engineered.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really detrimental because, you know, actually this is not the point when we need to do that. Yeah, but I know the person, and actually this is the point when we need to do this. I need to take them out to dinner and get an hour and a half alone with them when we have a proper conversation about stuff because I think they're ready to buy. No, but the journey mapping says you need to be arranging a product demonstration at this point.
All right. Well, thank you, Tim. It was a great discussion, as always. I'm sorry, guys, because you're at the bottom of the screen, but I'm going to show our newsletter. So we now have a newsletter, as everybody knows. And if you want to have some more insights onto this show and the upcoming shows, please subscribe. You can flash the QR code on screen or visit us at digitaldownload.live/newsletter. With that, thank you very much. Have a great week, great weekend, and see you next week.
A great long weekend if you're in the UK.
Great long weekend. If you're in France, it works as well.
It's
the third in a row, I think. We are specialists. Don't.
You're good at public holidays.
Brilliant.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.